Hello, welcome to probably one of our only few videos here for second quarter, since most of our slideshows and content learning have been accomplished already. There's not a whole lot necessarily of direct instruction left, as we said, which may be a great relief to you, and I won't take it personally if that is. So we've got a few final tasks here. If you're still finishing up your stasis theory worksheet for today, please get that done today, get that in on time, and make sure you are checking the classroom regularly, especially if you're not here for a day or so. Check in, see what homework is due in the usual spots. Please keep up with that. We've got a final few tasks here. So this annotated bibliography is our last big one for this term. I know we just started second quarter. It seems like well, what are we going to do to fill in these last 4 or 5 weeks? We'll be starting later this week on style, as we wrap up arrangement here with the stasis theory, though the stasis theory doesn't, maybe not technically fall under arrangement here. We're going to be doing some, brainstorming, outlining tasks this week to finish up arrangement here, possibly on Thursday, but I wanted to do this, get this started, sooner rather than later. And next week we will, next week or so, week and a half, do a little bit of style with some sentence writing activities, which you can do in small groups and send them up to me. Again, hopefully on time. So not a whole lot of out of class work for the next few weeks to give you time mainly to finish up and start and then finish up this last big thing of the annotated bibliography. Okay, so now that we've finalized the thesis itself, the topic, the perspective you're going to take, now it's time to start actually getting out and doing some research and getting some sources, getting some, those extrinsic proofs that we've been talking about, a few weeks ago, especially, so I know you've done annotated bibliographies already. Hopefully you practiced that with, I think, Mr. Christian and maybe last year, maybe a little bit in history, and hopefully some in 11th grade thesis class or research. So this is hopefully for most, if not all of you, nothing wholly new. So it's important then to, again, practice those skills. What is the purpose of it here for this class and this term? It's a good question. The main purpose of this task here is to get you going on doing the research, finding evidence, finding sources, reading, learning about this topic. Even if it's something that you have a lot of personal history with and a lot of ideas already, it's important that you get more content in your head, in your heart, so you can put it out on paper next semester when we really start writing the thesis itself. So get out and do some research, or, the old-fashioned way, go to the library. As a student of Thomas Nelson, you can use Thomas Nelson Library. You can use their website to do some of their research through their databases, which would cost you a whole lot if you were just a regular citizen. But as a college student enrolled in Thomas Nelson, you can use their pretty diverse internet databases and other sort of research sources. Get to, maybe the public library, the tab library may not have a whole lot of sources for you. It may have some. Getting some books and magazines and articles would be a good variety for you. But that is the point here, is to get you going on the research and learning things. And while you're searching for sources, it also is a good time right now, November and December, with not a whole lot of other work for this class especially, is to really write down the ideas. What are you finding? Don't just get lists of titles of things that are out there. Don't just get article names and book names and write them down in a bibliography, a list of works that you found. Actually, skim them, read them, peruse them, find quotations that you can copy out and use to work into your paper next semester. This month, November, December, these 2 months here, these are the great times to actually do your research, do the majority of the research workload. So when we come back in January next semester, you can just hit the ground running and start writing the thing. Okay, so the more work you put into finding evidences, finding sources, finding proofs and ideas and support now, the easier next semester writing will be. So I would encourage you to take advantage of this time here to not just find these resources and do some research, not just finding titles of works that may be helpful, but actually start using them and reading them, skimming them, however you need to gather information. Okay, so let's look directly here for a couple minutes here on what this task actually is. So as you can see, 10 sources. We need you to create a bibliography of 10 sources in the usual MLA formatting. So alphabetical entries by last name of author. Okay, check. We'll have some links to some other MLA sources. You should hopefully have your Summit Writing Handbook still that you've been using over the years. Should have the information for you in the sample pages on how to cite MLA, works cited page, and in-text citation. You'll need that heavily next semester, or at least use good online resource tools like the Purdue OWL Writing Lab site and others. Use these resources to do it correctly. Don't say, well, I don't have anything, so I'm just going to guess and do a sloppy thing, and I'm just going to copy website addresses and that up a list of 10 website addresses. That's not right. Do it well. This is a college level class, and so you need to do it correctly. Use standard MLA formatting for your citing and your citations in text later and for this list of sources right now. Okay, so no real excuses on I don't know how to do it. You've got the resources there at school, and I'll give you some links in the classroom here. There are ways to find out this information and do it correctly. So please do it well. Reverse paragraph formatting, alphabetical order, all the information that you need. The date of access of websites. So make sure you keep track of the date that you access things. Author name, title of articles in quotation marks, italicized book titles, and titles of publishing companies and magazine, journal article or journal names rather. The articles in quotation marks, the names of the magazines, the names of the journals italicized. Publishing information, publishing company, publishing year, print, web. Make sure you indicate all the important things in MLA formatting. Okay, so use the resources that are available to do it correctly. Okay, so 10 sources, at least half of them in print, right? So why do they need to be in print? I know we're a digital media driven age, but print is still as we've talked about before, still generally better favored in a lot of these academic circles, but also it shows that it has been edited and reviewed by peers and co-authors and co-experts in these fields. And most of the time, not that every book is always honest and you can always believe everything that every printed author has to say, but there's a good chance, especially in some of the better journals and magazines, that if it's printed, more than one set of eyes and, people have been editing and looking at it and, debating it and questioning it. So it's not just some website of somebody who has a, WordPress blog or something that just throws up his information or his editorial or ideas or opinions and will count it as something that has been published and printed. So, so in print doesn't have to mean necessarily you touch the book in your hand or the magazine in your hand. That would be usually helpful, certainly, but it can be an online copy of a journal that's published, right? So if you go to or newspaper article, it's a New York Times, instead of holding in your hand an actual copy of the New York Times, if it's a New York Times article that you got on NewYorkTimes.com, if that's their website address, that would be fine. So an online version of a print source, some magazine, some article that is available, online and in print, that will count as, 5 or so print sources. So that's the point of the print limitation there is, sources that are generally more reliable, more trustworthy than just a website that may be, anonymous from who knows, and some, company or organization that may not be as credible. Okay. Which is, again, not to say that all newspapers or all magazines are always credible, certainly from a Christian perspective, but, that is why we want, print sources that have been edited and peer reviewed and things like that. So at least 10 sources, find more if you want, sure. At least 10 good sources. These do not have to be the end number of what you use in your paper next semester. You'll probably be doing more research, finding more things, and it may be that these articles, these books that you find here in November may not be the ones that you end up citing in your final draft in April and May of 2019. If you change them, that's fine, but right now we need evidence that you've gone out, done some research, done some looking for ideas, done some work, and get started on your, so it's not necessarily this is your final bibliography, your final works cited, but this is where we're starting. Okay, so do it, proper formatting, find at least 10, and that's the bibliography part. And don't forget the annotations. Okay, if you don't want all the points, if you want to get just half credit or so, skip the annotations. But most of you probably want to do your best and do well and get all the points. So don't forget the annotations. It's an annotated bibliography, as it says. Scroll down a little bit here. 3 or 4 sentences, which is not a lot. You probably have to do multiple paragraphs before, and maybe in the years ahead in college you might have to do multiple paragraphs. And some of the examples that we'll send you links to have multiple paragraphs for annotations. But I don't need you to do all that. Just prove that you have looked at these things, that you've not just looked online for a list of books and then you copy down the information, but you've actually look at them. So 3 or 4 sentences after your bibliographic information. Give a little commentary, right? And here are some reasons of what to say, or some ideas on what to say for your annotations. Show me that you've looked at the source, that you maybe skimmed the article, you read it, and this is maybe more helpful. Maybe this is a good perspective on the refutation for the counter arguments I'll refute. Maybe it'll give me some background information, initial idea where it may be useful. Maybe, well, this article had a lot of great definition of terms that I can use these definitions here in my paper because they really define these ideas well. 2 or 3 sentences like that. Or I thought this would be really helpful of the perspective of I might need to refute it because it's from an author that doesn't have the same worldview as I have, and so I thought maybe I can pull out some refutation ideas from here. But after reading it more, I found out that it may not be too helpful. Maybe it's too emotionally driven or something, and I looked at it and may not be as helpful as I wanted it to be. Something like that. Maybe it's a positive, maybe it's a negative experience with this article or book or whatever it is, website address, something like that. Something that you prove that you have looked at it and spend enough time with this source to have some sort of proper analysis or response, some evaluation of how useful it might be, how helpful it might be for almost any part of your thesis. Okay, show that the perspective that the author has, things like that. So 3 or 4 sentences per item, per entry in your per source, and so this will be 2 or 3 page thing. But again, it's not due. You can check the due dates. It's due in over 2 months, or sorry, not 2 months. Sorry, try to raise your hopes there. It's due in about a month, about 5-6 weeks or so, December 18th, I believe. So it'll be, I think, 6 weeks from now. Hopefully you don't have to work over Thanksgiving, but so it's due in 5-6 weeks. Plenty of time to do that. We'll have some, like I said, we'll have some shorter things to do in class the next few days, but still plenty of time for you to work on. Next few class periods we'll do finish up some brainstorming and activities, do some style things in groups in the next couple weeks. But then still plenty of weeks to do this well in class. So bring your resources, bring your materials. Have your computers if accessible. If maybe you need to go to the library, do some online research there. That's okay. It's a good practice. You'll be needing to do that. Many of you going into college will need to do that on a regular basis. And so practicing here for this class is not necessarily a bad thing. So that is our last big task here. It'll take a fair amount of time and effort on your part. But consider it not just for a grade for this semester, but it also is helping you to prepare for writing this paper well and more easily next semester. Okay, this is starting into, shifting into big time, workload for the senior thesis. But the more effort and time you put into it here in November and December, you're getting a lot of good research, getting a lot of good ideas down, the easier writing the thing will be next semester. Okay, so hopefully that has been a helpful talk through this task here. The annotated bibliography, 10 sources, MLA formatting, annotate each entry, show that you looked at it, skimmed it, read it, surveyed it. You have an idea of how helpful it might be and things like that, right? This is the research. These are the extrinsic proofs that we've been talking about, okay? So hopefully that was helpful, as I said, and we'll start to wrap up arrangement and style, and then finish up this semester well. All right? Hang in there. Keep up with the workload. Make the most of each class period. Check back regularly if you miss a class period, and continue to do your best to succeed well in this class. All right? We'll hopefully talk to you again soon. Hopefully we can see you again over video sometime soon in the next few weeks. All right? See you then. Bye.